It's a little cold. All right. Hi, I'm Taylor of the Sheepish Goat. You're watching the channel. You may or may not have noticed that I'm almost naked today. Don't worry, I've put pants back on for this because I would get far too cold doing this in just my underwear the whole time. I hope this also looks and sounds okay because I've changed my setup in order to record like this. This video is going to be called Look at Me Change. Superficially, you might think that this video is just for me to show my appearance, my physicality. It's not. That is a tool for me to talk about this topic. Now, the two things I want to try to do with this video, one is for me to not be angry. When I first had the idea of making this video, I had the first idea of making this video almost 2 years ago, but yesterday when I started thinking about this, I started feeling angry with everything I wanted to talk about. I feel a little better now, so I'm going to hope that it comes out in a nice way. Also, and more importantly, this video is not for you to talk about the way that I look. That is the exact point of the video. Makes me think of in fourth, fifth grade, we had a woman, I think it was sixth grade. We had a woman come to our school and she was giving a speech in the gymnasium and she was a Holocaust survivor. I'm not laughing because of the Holocaust, but I'm laughing because she came in. She's like, I don't want anyone to clap at the end of this. I don't want anyone to applaud for everything terrible that's happened, right? So she finished telling her whole story. It was really sad. I think we had read like The Diary of Anne Frank or something just before this. And she finishes her speech and the whole gymnasium starts clapping for this Holocaust survivor. Oh, it's in hindsight, it's hilarious, but it's so fucked up. I'm not comparing myself to a Holocaust survivor for reference. I'm just saying that this is not to bait for compliments. In fact, if I see anything about the way that I look, positive or negative, I will delete it. But you're welcome to like the video. Thanks. Now, what I want to talk about is the idea of appearance and what it means to me. So, for reference, I don't like the way that I look. In fact, this makes me extremely uncomfortable. One, really to have my shirt off, but two, to have my shirt off on camera. I don't usually have my shirt off when I'm home by myself. Very rarely, because I have insecurity and because if I'm sitting down, if I have my shirt off, if my skin is exposed, then I'm judging myself every time. All I'm doing is pinching at my body and looking for ways in areas where I have excess fat and things that I don't like. That's what my brain does and has done for a very long time. So me having my shirt off on camera is fun, but I think it's relevant to the topic, so I am doing it. But the reason I want to talk about this is because I've lost weight, and it's brought up more comments about the way that I look, and I don't like it, and I want to explain why I don't like it. So in order to talk about it, I'm going to talk about my childhood. We need a graphic. Start with your childhood. I'm not going to add that in, but imagine I had the production value and the effort to do that, because it would be fantastic. As a little kid, from my memory, I was like a heavy little kid. That's what I remember. I remember being like a little chunker. But because I have some home movies of myself, I know that that's not inherently true. I've always been kind of like stout. I've had thick legs. I always was told I had a bubble butt as a kid. I had a large ass. And, but when I look back at the home movies, there was a period where I was super thin. Maybe all little kids go through that, I don't know. But I was super thin right up until my parents got divorced. And when my parents got divorced, which is around 7 or 8, where they started separating and then kind of like started living separately in the full divorce, whatever, I gained a lot of weight, and I can see in those videos. And I might overlay something here potentially to show you just kind of what I looked like. We'll see. We'll see if it's self-serving or self-sabotaging to show you how I used to look.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
And many more. Until you're 104. Ready? No.
No wind.
Ah.
Yay!
I didn't remember that I was as thin as I was before I was heavy, because what I remember is being a heavy set little boy in 5th grade and shopping in like the husky section, the fat little boy section for clothes, because I was heavy. I was pretty overweight.
More money for Dad. Woo! Wow. He gets 10 years old and he reads the cards now. That's one thing when you're younger, you don't read the cards. You like it? And you're taking a look, it's got shocks on it, Taylor. It's an 8 gears, 18 speed. It's got shocks.
Okay, should we just wheel it down through here?
Yeah.
It's kind of heavy.
Yeah.
I gotta get the weight of the head up.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah, I know, I do too.
I don't remember for certain, but I want to say I was like 160, 165, I think, in like 5th grade. It's a vague memory. I think that was 5th grade. It's hard for me to remember exactly. But I was pretty large for my age and the size, like height-wise, that I was. And that persisted for a while until I hit 8th grade. And in 8th grade, I had a real puberty hit, and I grew. And when I grew, I lost weight. Through that period of time as well, I also got braces. So having braces straightened out my teeth, which people started commenting on my smile. I talked about this in therapy with my therapist, V, and I said, by all accounts, I'm honestly the perfect woman because I have a beautiful smile and a big ass. And I hate it. In some capacity, I felt objectified for a very long time because as a little kid, I didn't really feel like I was very noticed or had much attention put on me. Again, I was kind of made to feel smaller, made to feel like I needed to minimize myself a bit, like I was too hyper, too emotional, too outgoing in some capacity. So when physicality became the importance, it became a detriment. In 8th grade, like I said, I lost weight, I thinned out. I had my braces off, I think, at the same time. So going to high school, started playing soccer. I was in really good shape. Started to get more attention. I worked out and stuff. I actually think I started working out 5th grade into 6th grade, if I recall correctly, because I remember walking with my brother around the school in summer trying to learn where my classes are, because it'd be the first time I'd be like traveling between classes, and he showed me the building. But I remember going there and having like one of my pectoral muscles like ripped, basically. Like I had been doing bench press and I put too much effort on one side of my body and my pec was swollen. So I had been putting ice on it. So like I remember going there at the start of 6th grade and I had started to work out a little bit. And then working out and not working out has been like a cycle my whole life, basically. But to the point is I gained weight, like I said, around 5th grade when my parents split up because I started living out of a suitcase. At first, my dad, I think, moved in with my my grandma, and we would go see him, I think, on the weekends. He eventually moved back into our house. And then both parents separated, lived in the same house. Mom was in the basement. Dad was upstairs, which I didn't really have mental awareness of at the time. They eventually split up and moved into separate homes. And then every week, packing up a suitcase, a green duffel bag of all your stuff and going to the other place. Same school, but different neighborhoods and essentially two different lives. And that persisted until I was 16 or 17. It was either junior or senior year that I moved out of my dad's house and came just to live with my mom full time. So yeah, that was a thing. And I never realized kind of how hard that was, but truly I felt like I had two separate lives. And, you know, at my dad's house, I spent a lot of time in my room, I believe, but my dad's house felt more chaotic. It felt more like there was always drama. My brother ended up having issues with my dad, and that ended up him moving out before I did. I don't remember how long, maybe a year, could have been a little longer, I'm not sure. So there's drama there, but then my stepmom had her daughters, my stepsisters, and there was always stuff associated with them, the things that they were going through with their family. And it became fairly chaotic. I spent quite a bit of time by myself in my room. I remember my dad, I think, commenting on it at one point that I was different and spent a lot of time alone in my room. And not that I had the awareness to figure it out at the time, but I was pretty emotionally shut down. I didn't know how to process all the feelings and everything that was happening. And it didn't feel like anybody was really trying to help me work through that, or was really there to help me make sure I was okay, I guess. At my mom's house, my brother was old enough essentially when my parents split up, where he was kind of doing his own thing. He got a car pretty quickly after that, so he would go by his friend's house. My mom, she was either trying to figure herself out with her boyfriends, whichever boyfriend it was at the time. Not that she had a crazy amount, but so we'd be over there. I'd be at home alone if she was out doing stuff with her friends, or I would be with my brother. I basically just tagged along with him to his friend's house. So I was around kids who were older than me really early and quite a lot. So I think it made me grow up a little bit. But moreover, because I wasn't spending so much time in one kind of neighborhood, I think it kind of divided my friends, and again added to that feeling of living separately, living kind of two lives. So all this to say, I spent a lot of time alone. I didn't really have a lot of people, quote unquote, focusing on me. It started to focus on me when I started to lose weight. I would get comments about being more attractive and handsome and different things. I started doing acting. I started being on stage. I started getting attention for my physicality, for my emotions, for different things. But it was all more directed about the way that I looked. You know, I remember growing up, when my parents split up, my dad cut our hair, but at least my hair, until I think I moved out. So I never had real awareness or effort into my appearance, into my clothes. I didn't have any effort. I kind of started to do what my brother did, but I didn't figure out any kind of style. And I didn't try to do anything with my facial hair or the hair on my head until I was in college. So started dabbling in that area, started dabbling in my physicality as a way to express myself. But then I started getting more attention for the way that I looked. I remember people talking about me having a nice smile and talking about me having a large ass and starting to feel objectified. And I didn't really know that I felt that way until very recently, and talking about it through therapy, that it felt so negatively impacting for people to talk about the way that I look. But it does, and it did. And like I said, I lost weight through high school. I started to be active. I was in sports. I played soccer up until junior year was the last year I played, because I wasn't very great. I was large and I could knock people down. That was pretty good. But I wasn't ever a sports person. I just always played with the same team of people. So I realized that I wasn't getting any play time, and it was a waste of time. So I stopped playing senior year. And I think I gained a little bit of weight, because I remember leaving high school having a little bit more weight on me. But I lost weight. It felt good through college. Everything was fine. To the point is I've lost weight recently. And in losing weight recently, it's triggered a lot of past feelings, which is why I know how I feel now. So I had a heavy sense of depression for quite a long time that I'm working through. I lost a relationship. And that was like a big period of my life where I was completely emotionally shut down, physically shut down. COVID happened during this time, so I was working from home. And in working from home, I didn't really move. So I gained a bunch of weight. And I ballooned to my heaviest, which is, I think, I didn't weigh myself at my heaviest, was probably 230, 235, which was pretty big for me. I think consistently I had usually held around like 180 to 190 range. So I felt really insecure and I felt really bad. But even before that, as a kid, like I remember not liking to be walking around with my shirt off. I felt really insecure. I would sit down and I would have a tummy and I would feel bad about myself. So either I had to like totally push out of my body, or I had to be really comfortable around the people I was around, or I just would wear a shirt. And when I ballooned here in the last couple of years, I felt really insecure. I didn't like going swimming. I didn't like being outside without a shirt on. So, you know, I'm pasty white. If you couldn't tell, I'm very pale. So we'll see how that looks on the camera later when I go to edit this, if it's just all blown out and your eyes are gone. But so I would burn in the summer pretty easily. So I started to wear swim shirts a little bit, and not too long ago. And that kind of became a way for me to be outside without having to not have a shirt on. But I'm not going to do that anymore. Just like I'm going to show myself without a shirt on here. Because the ironic thing is that, while I don't like the way that I look, I'm learning to like the way that I look. And in liking the way that I look, I've done it for me. Which is why the fact that I've lost weight becomes invalidating. See, I came to, like I said, my heaviest when I was still at my last job. Jesus, like 2.5 years ago now. And when I was getting ready to leave, when I decided to start living my life again, I had like a 6-month period before I quit my job where I started going to the gym. I started to try to lose weight and be in good shape. And I did. I lost weight and I got in better shape. But when I left that job, I stopped working out. I think I gained a little bit of weight. I definitely lost the muscle I had gained. And I kind of persisted. Wasn't necessarily the heaviest, and I wasn't definitely the lightest. But I had a bit of weight on me still. So when I eventually went back to work, I took a job that was physical. I hoped in some capacity it might help me lose weight, but I didn't take the job for that reason. I took the job for mental relief. At the previous job, I was so stressed out. I was so exhausted mentally that I just didn't feel like I had time for myself. So I wanted a job that was physical so that I could try to prevent that from happening. In that job, I did lose weight. But moreover, I also started running during that period. And I started running not from the idea of losing weight. I started running because I went to therapy. And in therapy, I learned to do things that make me happy, which is something that I had never, ever knew about my entire life. Doing something to make yourself happy. My life has been about making other people happy. It's never been about myself. So in making myself happy, I learned that I like to run. So I started running. I got up to running 22 minutes. I was really enjoying it. I realized that I wasn't doing it for myself at a certain point. I was just pushing myself towards a number, so I eventually stopped. But in the process of doing it, I was really loving it. And I was doing it 3 days a week. It wasn't this heavy, active thing, go constantly all the time. I was following a pattern of an app. And in doing that, I lost more weight. And that wasn't from the intention of losing weight. Me losing weight was the intention of being aware of myself emotionally, of looking at myself beyond the physicality, of stop paying attention to the way that I look, right? Like, I remember being in high school and people telling me that, you would look nice if you did something with your hair, like if you put product in your hair and try to do something interesting. And you know, people, once I started growing out my facial hair and doing different things with my hair, it became a form of self-expression, just like my clothes are. But people felt the need to start commenting on that, right? It came from like saying like, you look nice, is saying like, what are you wearing? Or you look like this, or you look better with this, or I don't like that. It became very outwardly vocal to the point of like, I don't understand what I'm doing to have you comment on the way that I look, but I'm doing this for me, not for you. And I didn't have the awareness, the boldness to say that, but every time I would do something new, it felt like someone had the need to comment on the way that I looked, felt the need to comment on what I was wearing and what I was doing. Even though it was all just me trying to enjoy and have pride and have self-expression, right? Because I didn't have that growing up. Like I said, I didn't have style. My dad cut my hair. I didn't feel like there was much attention put on me, so it was just a way to express myself. But as soon as I started expressing myself, everybody felt the need to project onto me. Everybody felt the need to comment on the way that I looked and the way that I acted and the way that I walked. Like even the way that I walk has been commented on. My feet generally go out, so I kind of look a little bit like a duck. And it's been reduced when I started dancing, because I was a dance instructor for 6 months when I lived in Chicago. It kind of rotated my hips a little bit. But anyway, when I walk, apparently I had like a very swaggery kind of walk. I don't know. It's not on purpose. It's just the way that I walk. But I remember being in high school, and I remember a girl telling me she didn't like me because I walked around like I was like full of myself. Like I had like this arrogance because I guess I had my head lifted in the air. Trust me, I didn't have like this overconfidence. It's just like the way that I move my body. But it doesn't matter, because regardless of why I did things, people just felt the need to comment. They projected their own feelings onto me. And again, that is added to this physicality and added to this capacity of like, stop focusing on the way that I look. Stop telling me that I look nice now. Because what it does for me is it invalidates everything that came before. It projects the idea that I look good now because I've lost weight, not that I didn't look good before. I know that's a me thing, and I know that's something I'm working through. And trust me, I built confidence in myself. I compliment myself. I focus on certain things. I tell myself that I have pretty eyes, or I like my hair, or I have a nice smile. And I tell me that for me. Because every time somebody else tells me that I look a certain way or am a certain way, it removes and minimizes everything else that's happened. Like I said, I've lost weight now because I worked on myself internally. I decided I didn't want the mental strain, so I took a physical job. I decided that I wanted to go and start running because I wanted to do something that made me happy. And when I ran, I had the biggest smile on my face. And when running stopped, I started hiking. And now when I'm not hiking, I go walking almost every day. And being active and being outside makes me happy. So me losing weight is a projection of me shedding all of the internal emotional weight that I've had in my life that nobody ever paid attention to. So when people comment on the way that I look, it invalidates that, because it again puts it back on all of the physicality and everything that I really don't want to focus on. In some capacity, the way that I looked is this terrible double-edged sword where it's nice and it feels validating for people to comment on the way that you look, right? It's like, oh, they see me, but they don't see you. They see the outward projection of what you're presenting. Anybody can fucking shine a turd, right? Maybe that's terrible to think about in capacity to yourself, but like, the outward projection is superficial. It is the armor. It is whatever you put around yourself, right? So if people are only commenting and only seeing the outward and they're not seeing the inward, it entirely invalidates you, and it makes you feel that you have to keep up this need to be that outward projection. It makes it very hard to do anything truly for yourself and feel the confidence to stand behind that choice. So like I said, I've done all this internal work to try to help myself feel better, and everything externally has just been a secondary consequence of that. I've not tried to lose weight. I've lost weight because I focused on me, and I did it from a stance and a method that made me happy, that projected positive mental strain, right? Like, I wanted to lose weight, but I didn't force myself to go to a gym every single day because I was miserable. I got outside and I walked and I ran because it makes me happy to be outside and be physical. And losing weight was a consequence of that goal. So, outward appearance is hard. And I don't, quote unquote, like the way that I look right now. Like I said, if I sit down on the couch, if I'm wearing shorts, if I'm not wearing a shirt when I get out of the shower, my eyes go to the problems. My eyes look at everything that I don't like. But it's not overwhelming. It's not constant. I know how to work around that. I know how to push thoughts out of my brain. But if people continue to comment on the way that I look, it invalidates everything that I'm trying to do. So this video is to say that stop focusing on the way that people look. If you want to say someone looks nice, if you want to comment and say, hey, you look good today. I like your hair. I like what you're doing. That's awesome. It is a sweet gesture. It is kind. But ask them how they're doing. Ask them why they did it different. Ask them, how do you feel? You know, I'm seeing this outward change, but like, where's that coming from? Like, what are you doing differently? Because you look happy, not you look thinner. I think doing that will shift the perspective for those people, hopefully. Whether they know that they need that or not, it will be helpful. And hopefully that'll help you from stop focusing on the physicality as well. Because our entire lives, the entire fucking world is so superficial and so focused on this outward projection that is clearly all fake. But what if we start looking at people as exactly who they are, right? I wanted to show myself today because I wanted to show exactly what I look like. Because if you want to know what I look like, then know what I fucking look like. It's that simple. But stop talking about it. Stop saying I look good. Stop making me an objectification for your desire. It doesn't make me feel good. Does it make you feel good? I would like to leave this on a happy note, and I'm struggling to find out how to do that. All I can say is that changing is hard. Changing is hard because anytime you do something different, everyone else is going to see it. And as much as you maybe want to be seen, I know I always have. Once people put their eyes on you, it can be even harder than not being seen at all. And in some capacity, I wish to not be seen. But being seen, letting people see you, pushing through the things that make you feel uncomfortable allows you to grow and allows you to change. And while it might not feel good in the moment, what it does do, if you're doing it for the right reason, if you're doing it from the right place, is it allows you to become more of yourself, to build that confidence to say, you know what, let them see. Because if they see, then I see. Then I feel good about seeing myself. Then maybe I won't pinch the fat on my body. Then maybe I'll be happy and I won't resent having a nice smile. I won't resent looking a certain way because it always gets some kind of compliment or attention. So, don't do it for other people. If you're going to try to lose weight, don't do it because you hate the way that you look. Try to find a way that makes you happy. Try to do something that motivates you to feel good. And the weight might come off. Or maybe you'll find that you feel happy exactly the way that you look and you don't need to change. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It only matters how you feel. Not how you think, how you feel. And you're allowed to feel however you want. So, I hope that was coherent. I hope I didn't get too angry. I don't think I did. Good job, Taylor. And until next time, everybody. Love you. Bye.